What's up, guys? This is Miles Markowitz.
And this is Brad Thomas.
Here to give you the best sports insights to beat your bookie.
You only need to ask one question.
What's the spread? Welcome in. What's the spread? We're off and running. My friend, the time has finally come. The Big Ten has arrived. We're finally here. I feel like the SEC has been playing for months, which has been what? Like maybe 5 weeks? 4 or 5 weeks. But it really has felt that long, and this has been the longest wait for high state football I've ever had. Can't wait for Saturday. Really, there are actually other games in the Big Ten that I'm more excited about, which is what we're going to be focusing on right away. So without further ado, man, let's get into it. We got the Big Ten opening play. So in honor of that, we're going to go ahead and cover two big-time matchups here. First of all, College game day. 18 Michigan, 21 Minnesota. Michigan is favored by 3 points on the road here. Which side are you on?
I'm taking Minnesota +3. What about you?
I'm with you, man. I'm taking Minnesota +3 as well. Michigan 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games on the road. Joe Milton starting his first game at QB since high school. Kid's supposed to be good.
Listen, I'm so sick of every single year we have to, or every changing of the guard at Michigan, we have to hype up their quarterback.
Under Harbaugh, that's just what it seems like.
And this is a popular bet for people. Every year, Michigan are going against opponents, and I think they are overpriced. Yeah. I am all over Minnesota. Tanner Morgan back. PJ Fleck has this team rocking and rolling. Listen to this name that a lot of people don't know. Rashard Bateman. He is going to have that kind of season that will bring him into that top 10, top 15 kind of area. I don't care about the last meeting between these two teams because those were two totally different teams,
completely different programs. Absolutely.
I'm riding PJ Fleck here and Tanner Morgan. Minnesota lost a lot of pieces on defense, but that doesn't matter to me.
What's crazy to me is that you would think in a matchup like this, it should seem like, well, Michigan's not going to lose the game. They could absolutely lose this game. Minnesota at home, a lot of hype. You mentioned Rashad Bateman, Big Ten receiver of the year last year. Him and Tanner Morgan are not going to miss a step.
No.
And that's the thing. Again, we've been talking about this all season, but there's a lot to be said for no turnover at the quarterback position.
Yes.
There's a lot to be said at no turnover at head coach.
Yep.
And that head coach quarterback combo, especially a guy like Tanner Morgan, who is such a leader.
He's a leader and he's a reliable quarterback. He always puts you in a position to win and never puts you in a position to lose. Like when we have Joe Milton coming in here, who's to say Joe Milton's not going to throw a couple interceptions or not convert big downs? You know Tanner Morgan's there to convert big downs and not going to turn the ball over a lot. And
if it wasn't for last year, granted, I know there's no crowd. Again, that's something we have to deal with. But that game that Minnesota had against Penn State last year, and I told anybody who would listen, there's no way in hell that Minnesota is going to win this game. And they proved me wrong. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take stock in the fact that I think their program is headed in the right direction. And I think this is a good spot for them. Another trend I really liked, just overall, how about Minnesota? 19-11 against the spread, their last 30 games as a home underdog.
That's beautiful.
So that's a lot of history for you. All right, what's next? We got one more in the Big Ten.
Next, we have Penn State, 6-point favorite versus Indiana. I was all over this game the second it opened. It opened at 7.5 on some books, but on my book, it opened at 6. I hammered it at 6. Listen, Sean Clifford is going to be on a tear this season. This is his championship run. It is his time. Last year, threw for 260. I'm gonna estimate it's like 2,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I don't think Indiana has the same success they had last year, and they won 8 games. We know we have to scale it down a little, but I'd be surprised if they win 6 games this season. 6 is favorable. No fans. It's different if this is a Big Ten game where Penn State has to go in Indiana and there's fans, but for them, I think this is going to be a neutral site. Give me Penn State -6 all day. I'm seeing the score somewhere around like 35-14.
So here's where I'm at. I'm with you, man. Penn State -6. The Indiana +6 is tempting, and that's because of Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for Indiana. Yes. Very talented. I think he was 5-1 as a starter last year. Penn State, we know they have problems on pass defense. We saw that all of last year, but here's the thing. Penn State's just more talented.
Yes.
This game is going to be one up front. I do think that Indiana is going to be able to keep this game close for a while, but in the end, Penn State is too talented interior.
Yes.
On the offensive line, the defensive line, it's going to be too much for Indiana. Indiana's flashy. Penix is a good QB. They got Whop Philyor at receiver. Explosive. They're going to score points.
Yep.
But this spread should be at least 2 scores.
I think so.
It should be at least 7.5.
I think so. And that's what's crazy is I think when it opened at 7.5 on most offshores, I don't think most big books even opened it until 6. I think that it was like, the betting public was like, oh, this Indiana team's so good.
Right,
they're going to score a lot. But 6 points, they're going to win by more than a touchdown.
Yeah. And I think Vegas was counting on that for sure.
Yes.
Because, again, Indiana is a really sexy pick this year in the Big Ten, but I see this time and time again. We were talking about Michigan and their turnover. There's always so much hype behind Indiana. And they did have one of the best years they've had in a long time last year.
8 wins in the first time in 26 seasons or 33 seasons, something crazy.
Right. But, with the SEC, we saw a lot of upsets early on, but that was mostly because there's a lot of parity in the SEC. There's not as much parity in the Big Ten. So that's something to keep in mind when you're betting these Big Ten games.
Big Ten's top heavy, and a lot of people are going to... I've even heard it myself where they're like, oh, man, big dogs can go down. I heard someone even bring up Nebraska, which is laughable. It's not the same. And you have like you said again, returning coaches with star quarterbacks.
Right.
That just doesn't happen where they're just going to falter.
Big Ten is very top heavy. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin.
Yes.
These are the schools.
Yep.
So that's something to keep an eye on here as we have Big Ten this weekend. All right. With Big Ten coming back, you would think that I would be so excited about these games, and I am. But how about this one in the American?
Oh, my God.
Number 9, Cincinnati. Number 16, SMU. SMU, 2.5-point favorites at home. Who do you like?
I
Big
was
showcase
back and forth on this, and the line movement scared me, but I'm taking Cincinnati here. 4-2 against the spread. What got me with Cincinnati is 5-1 against the spread versus teams with winning records. Listen, we know Shane Buechele is having an amazing banner year, but then I went back and looked at some of the teams they've played. They played Memphis, who let Dylan Gabriel throw for damn near 10,000 yards on them. They played, North Texas. They played Stephen F. Austin.
Yep.
Like, these teams are nobodies. Cincinnati, for a team, like the game they played against South Florida, for a team that can score like South Florida, for them to hold them down and make this a grinded out victory 28-7, that really was the difference maker in the way you play. I think that if you have a flashy offensive team like SMU, if they had a good defense to go behind it, when they're playing a defensive juggernaut who's 9th in the country, I would be okay with taking -2.5, but I think Cincinnati wins outright.
Yeah, with 2.5, it's essentially a money line.
Yes.
There's a couple of reasons why I like SMU here, and I went back and forth on this one as well.
It's tough.
Cincinnati does have the best defense in the conference. There's no doubt about that. So really, it comes down to how much of a difference is that good defense going to be?
Yeah.
Because I think when you look at the quarterback, Shane Buechele against Desmond Ridder, Buechele has the advantage all day long, and I feel like SMU can definitely score points. But as you mentioned, SMU doesn't have a good defense. No. So even with Cincinnati struggles on offense, they're still going to be able to put up points. But here's what did it for me, Brad. In a season like this, Cincinnati hasn't played that game against USF since October 3rd.
Yeah.
So it's been a long layoff. So really, with a 2.5-point spread, that was the deciding factor for me. All right, let's go and end it in the Big 12. Number 17, Iowa State. Number 6, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State favored by 3.5 points. And all of a sudden, we're looking at a game that could decide the conference.
Yes, and this game had me excited. Boy, this game is going to be a feature of 2 of the top running backs in the country with Chuba Hubbard and Breece Hall, and 2 quarterbacks who I don't even know how to predict. Like, when you have Brock Purdy here, what do we think about Brock Purdy? I mean,
and Sanders. There's a lot of question marks at the quarterback position going into this game.
I just had to go with the team who I think is better. I went with Oklahoma State -3.5. I don't care about the hook. 7-2 against the spread in their last 9. I think that Breece Hall's having a better game, a better season, but it's because he has to be utilized more than Hubbard. Hubbard only has 339 yards this season, but he had 3 100-yard games, So I think that another thing that's really going to help Oklahoma State here is their rush defense. They're about middle of the road in rush defense, which is huge when you think about how many teams are playing and how many teams have ran against them. They're allowing only 93 rush yards per game when you're going to have a team that comes here and they're going to want to dominate the game with the run. Brock Purdy's not going to beat him downfield. We know Brock checked down Purdy. He's
struggling, yeah.
So if they stop Breece Hall, they win this game. I think they're the best team in the conference.
Yeah, I like Oklahoma State here too, -3.5. And that's mostly because, as you mentioned, I think right now they are the best team. You and I were both very high on Oklahoma State coming into the season and in the offseason. I'm not going to stop now. No. And I actually think that the 3.5 is really favorable here. Purdy's not playing well.
No.
Sanders doesn't have to do too much because we're talking about a defensive game here in the Big 12, which is very surprising. But I think the Oklahoma State defense has been really impressive.
Remarkable.
And I think that's going to be the difference maker. And as you said, stopping Breece Hall, that's really all they have to do because Purdy hasn't proven that he can make those plays.
Exactly.
Not to say that Sanders has either. Keep in mind, Sanders likely to play. He's been cleared.
Okay,
but he's got 2 completions this year. I mean, he got taken out, I think, after the second drive of the first game.
Yeah, I didn't know if Illingsworth was going to play.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
for me, it didn't matter.
I'm with you. We may see 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We may not see Sanders. We'll see how that works out. But because of the defense and because of the running matchup, I just like the Oklahoma State 3.5, especially at home. And I think the Oklahoma State is the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah, so it's wild. Last week, I was able to get Oklahoma State. I already have a preseason bet for Oklahoma State to win the conference. I doubled down with them at plus 500, and they lead the conference right now. Wild.
Really good odds. All right, underdog.
Underdog was tough for me this week. Guys, I'm sorry we dropped the last one. I'll tell you when I'm super confident. I'm going to go with South Carolina over LSU. LSU coming off the bye week should be coming here and ready to rock and roll. But guess what? What is the most challenging thing that a team can't predict? Distractions. The self-indicted Odell Beckham scandal.
Yeah.
It's a big distraction all week when they should be preparing for South Carolina. South Carolina's coming off a big upset win. I think they do 2 in a row here. This LSU team is not good defensively. They are great offensively, but South Carolina's defense is going to do just enough to where South Carolina will score and they will hold them down.
I like your pick. I like sticking with the SEC here. If you're in the SEC and your name is not Alabama, it's been a very up and down season for you.
Yes.
And I think it's going to continue. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ole Miss plus 3.5
That was my backup, yes.
over Auburn. That's really favorable to me.
Yep.
I don't think, you could make an argument for a pick 'em here. I think Auburn's not playing well. Ole Miss is at least scoring points.
Yeah.
But I think that's a prime upset spot. And
Absolutely.
really, any of these middle-of-the-road SEC matchups right now, there's a lot of value
They
there.
should all just be pick-ems because the only thing that kept me off of Ole Miss was whatever. I think it's called HIPAA or something where they can't release the names of who still is sick. But I don't think we've come to see in sports these COVID cases haven't really been changing the complexion of these teams. And I think it's because I heard this on the ESPN radio where these coaches and these players are practicing as if key guys are catch COVID. They're putting that into their practice game plan. So if something happens, you lose 10 players, you are ready to fill your guy. It's not like other seasons where your ones are grinding it all the time. You are scattering your guys around so you are ready for this.
All right, man, it's going to be a great Saturday of college football. Before we move over into the NFL, let's break for our sponsors.
Hey, Miles, what'd be pretty cool? If there's a social media app just for sports.
Brad, I was just thinking that. Like a social media app where there's a feed where you can post about your picks, see what others are saying about the game, and you know how I love to see how the lines move throughout the week.
Well, you're in luck. Viget is the best social media platform just for sports. When you download Viget, use promo code SPREAD and create your account today. All
right, my friend, a rapid fire NFL. What do we got up first? This is the game of the year. Hands down
Pittsburgh
so far.
Steelers traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans, where the Titans are a 1.5 point favorite. Miles, I have doubted the Titans all year, and I'm not going to change. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers getting 1.5 here.
I like Titans minus 1.5, so I'm on the other side. This is really a money line situation. The Steelers are coming in 4-1 against the spread this season.
Yeah.
So I feel like that Vegas has to start adjusting their lines a little bit. Tennessee, 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games as a home underdog. But I'll tell you, game-wise, why I like the Titans here. Derrick Henry is on a rampage.
Yes.
I like that they can control the ball that way. And also, I really do think that the Steelers losing Devin Bush on the defensive side of the ball is going to be a big adjustment for them. So I think that only with the 1.5 points are really just looking at this as a money line. I'm liking the Titans to come away with the win here.
One thing that made me a little more comfortable with my Steelers pick is going back and breaking down the Texans. The Texans are worse in the league at
Titans.
No. The Texans.
Oh, because of last week.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't like going game from game, but
Sure,
I have to find my angle when you have tight games like this.
Yeah.
The Texans are the worst team against the run. Worst team about time of possession. They are the third worst team against the pass. But what was weird was the Titans had every opportunity to put this game away, and it showed you that this Titans team's not the same Titans team of old defensively.
No.
I think the Steelers will score just enough points. One stat that I heard, which was really wild, was like the Steelers are 12-4 for the total going under in their last 16 road games, which leads me to believe that they will hold them down enough for them to finish a game that's like something like 28-21.
Really impressive performance for the Steelers last week against Cleveland.
Yes.
Shut them down. Couldn't do anything on offense. I think we have two really good offensive teams here.
Yes.
So I think it's possible that we could see a similar game to what we saw with the Texans and Titans last week.
I hope so.
All right, what's next?
Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks, 3.5-point favorite, traveling to Arizona. 4 o'clock kickoff. And Miles, who are you going to go with?
Brad, I'm taking the Cardinals here. It's very rare that I bet against the Seahawks, and I just want to put it out there. I'm not overreacting from their performance against the Cowboys. I fully understand what they were working with there. The Cowboys were completely unprepared, and the Cardinals took advantage. Before that, keep in mind, the Cardinals offense was struggling. Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes.
Yeah.
But what I liked about the Cardinals in that game is their ability to create plays, such as the Christian Kirk play.
Yes.
When there was nothing there. Defensively, I thought they looked really good. They played really well on the defensive side of the ball. And listen, I know it was Andy Dalton, but Zeke was all out of sorts.
Yes.
The Cowboys couldn't do anything. And the Seahawks, which I was surprised to see, their defense is giving up 471.2 yards per game. So I think it's a spot where Arizona can absolutely come up with the upset here.
Miles, I'm so glad you picked Arizona. So,
yes,
like you said, Arizona was struggling early in the season, and when the season started, Nuke was on pace to have something like 179 receptions. He's still top 3 on pace for 150 receptions. But what they started to do, targets. What they started to do is they started implementing other guys in their offense, and it started 2 weeks ago with Christian Kirk. And then you saw it again this week with Christian Kirk. You see, at the beginning of the season, they were struggling a little bit with Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake had himself a good game, but why? Because you can rely on Chase Edmonds. There's a lot that's happening with this offense that's really... It makes them a really fun team to bet. And now we get them at home. Kyler Murray is doing it with his legs, with his arm. And I'm trying to put my words out there where I'm not sounding like I'm just backing the Cardinals for no reason. Kyler Murray, I heard something great with DeAndre Hopkins said, when I showed up to practice, Kyler Murray, I did something in practice that was wrong. Kyler Murray came up and yelled at me. He yelled at me. He's like, I didn't know what to think of it because Kyler Murray's so little and he's such a big leader.
Yeah.
But you see it on the field.
You do.
Like, Kyler Murray is getting those. He's finally starting to understand. Like, I think those first couple of weeks, even when they were winning, those first couple of weeks, he was like kind of just still going through it. But now he's really taking control of the team. All these stars on his team, he's the guy. They are 6-2-1 in their last 9 games. They make it 7-2-1 against the Seahawks. We do have to admit Wilson's having one of the best seasons that he's ever had. 1,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Metcalf's playing amazing. But there have been too many games that the Seahawks have had that are battles, grinds, and I think that Arizona's defense is good enough, and their offense puts up enough points to where if it's one of these battles or one of these grinds, Arizona's going to win and cover. If they don't win, it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game. And we're getting 3.5 points here.
Right. And not the first time that we back the Cardinals here. I really think that they have enough where they can at least keep up with Russell Wilson. And again, that Seattle defense, really, I think there's a lot of holes to exploit there.
Yes.
And I think that Kingsbury's going to be able to do that. All right, what's next?
Next, we have Chicago Bears traveling to the LA Rams. Monday Night Football. The Rams are a 6-point favorite. Miles, I'm going to go ahead and start this off.
Go ahead, man.
I am taking the pretender Chicago Bears.
Again.
But look at the games the Bears have played. They beat the Lions. They beat the Giants. They beat the Falcons. They beat the Colts. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Bucks. Every single game there was excuses of why they win the game. Mm-hmm. Like the Bucks had none of their players. The Bucks had none of their players. The Panthers didn't have McCaffrey. The Falcons sucked. The Giants lost Saquon. But you know what? You only can play the games that are on your schedule. 6 points is very generous, especially against a team like the Rams. The Rams are 2-7-1 in their last 10 primetime games. That's against the spread. We're getting 6 points here. Foles said he would rather an ugly win than a pretty loss. He does not care how they get it done. When you have a top 3, heard I say that, top 3 defense, all you need is an okay quarterback.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be looking at a defensive battle here. There's a couple reasons why I like the Rams -6. Number one, I like big bounce back spots.
Yeah,
this is definitely a big one for them, especially last week. I mean, you and I were all over the Rams last week, so I'm betting them 2 weeks in a row here. Terrible 24-16 loss against San Francisco. Here's the thing: the Rams are leading the NFL, converting 46.8% of their third downs. They did not do that last week. They were only 4 for 12 against the 49ers. I think that's where the difference in this game can be, because this is what I'm looking for, Brad. I'm looking for like an 18-10 game. I'm looking for like an 18-12 game.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a really low-scoring defensive struggle. I still believe the Rams are better than what they showed last Sunday.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
And better than what they've been showing overall. But here's the thing. People keep doubting the Bears, and they just keep coming at you with that defense.
That defense is legit. Rams offensive line is not good. The only thing that worries me here is that second half of the Rams game, it looked like Sean McVay started to understand he has to use his weapons against a good defense.
Yeah.
Like, you can't Sean McVay it out and spread the ball around. No, you find your guys. Darrell Henderson was hot, and he finally rode Darrell Henderson. Just did a little too late. That's what only scares me is, God, if they ended the game flat, like they started the game, then I would have been tell everyone, put your freaking mortgage on the Bears. But, we have to keep calm, stick with unit size betting, so I'm taking Bears +6. 6 is a lot of points for a good defensive team.
All right, man. I like it. Let's bring it home. What do we got?
Next up, the last game. This is my biggest bet of the week. Green Bay Packers are a 3.5-point favorite playing the Houston Texans. You heard me talk about the Texans. Terrible against the run. But what I love here, the Green Bay Packers, following an against the spread loss, are 10-0. Aaron Rodgers got shut down by probably the best defense in the league. And he didn't know how to react. Guess what? He gets a awful defense. Listen, one thing the Packers are really good. They're the best in the entire country. Is one of the best in the entire country. Is controlling the pace of the game. They don't rush it if they don't have to. The Texans are terrible on third down defensively. So we're gonna have a game where we get Aaron Rodgers, who gets a bounce back spot versus a bad secondary, versus a bad rush defense, and versus a team who is okay with trying to have a shootout. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Packers will put up 45-plus points. I'm taking the over. First half over. Packers -3.5. The line opened at 3. I'm glad I'm getting it at 3.5.
This is also my bet of the week.
Yes.
I feel like this is truly an 11 at the blackjack table, and you double down. That stat is eye-popping. They've covered their last 10 games after an against the spread loss. I mean, that jumps off the paper to me, because what does that tell me? That's all about Rodgers, right?
Coaching changes, no one cares.
Mentality.
He's going to come out. You know.
So that just makes me even more comfortable. Is that, like, some trends are not as reliable because of so much turnover. Yeah. But this is all Aaron Rodgers. This guy comes back after a loss, and he comes back strong. And the reason that it's only 3.5 is because they got their ass kicked in Tampa last week. And I'm telling you, it was definitely an off game for Rodgers. It was very weird. After he threw the 2 interceptions and the picks, he was all out of sorts.
Shut down. And then our D's got up. We kept getting to the quarterback.
He was all out of sorts. But this is definitely, again, another bounce back spot here.
He got pissed off Rodgers.
Yeah. Packers -3.5. It's an 11 at the blackjack table. Double down all over this one.
Totally.
That was a good way to end it.
I'm so glad, Miles.
Yeah. We're on the same page there, man. Hey, we finally get to make a little push to the college football playoff.
Yes.
Little 8-week Big Ten season. Before you know it, it'll be December.
We have Mountain West starting too.
Mountain West.
I was looking at the games and I go,
Pac-12 in a couple weeks.
Boise State this weekend.
So here's the thing too. Last Saturday night, I was enjoying myself as I do on college football Saturdays. But all the action ended at 11 o'clock, and I'm like, why are there no games on? I'm like, it's because Mountain West hasn't started playing yet. But here we are.
Here we are.
We finally get our wire-to-wire college football Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. Live it up, man.
I'm so excited.
Let's enjoy it.
Thank you guys so much for listening to What's the Spread podcast. Listen, please be sure to download our podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, or however else you get your podcasts. And listen, I'm going to say this one time. Let's go Rays. Let's do this.